Good morning, good afternoon, or good night, my fellow Chibits. Hopefully all of you have had a very wonderful day today, because today I'm here to bring all of you the weekly anime review of Grimgar. So, this episode was relatively decently paced, a little bit slow, but mainly the main point of this week's episode was trying to have Mary fit in with our group, the new party that she is currently joined. And this is kind of what the main focus has been about since, the last episode, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. I'm glad that the series is taking the time to really integrate Mary into the group and not just forcibly shove her in and force us to like her. It's taking that time to build up her character, along with us to building up our relationship with her, of enjoying her being on screen when we're watching the series. So, Mary's character, after finding out the revelations of last week's episode of, how her party died and how she was going around healing everybody she could when she was in the party, and eventually caused it where she ran out of mana and she couldn't heal anyone when they're in a bad situation, we understand why she acts like she does, why she's fearful of getting attached to other people. That's one of the main reasons why she seems very cold or distant from so many, is because she fears that if she gets attached to a certain group, she will eventually have to lose that group and she'll be upset. And also, because of this, she kind of keeps herself at a distance because she doesn't want to be shunned from others. She doesn't want to be shunned like, you're not a real priest, you let your party die, so forth, so on. So seeing these emotions that Mary displays, like you could tell, she doesn't have to say it, but this is probably how she feels. It lets us know that she is probably going to become a very good character in the future. There's a lot of potential for character development, great character development, depending on how the writer takes it. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how Mary's going to be in the long term of the series. Now, of course, the series is probably going to be ending, I think, around 12 to 13 episodes, so we're probably not going to get to see the final bow on top of her character development. But for what we're going to probably see in these remaining episodes, it might focus on her kind of fitting in with the group. And I love how the main focus of this, episode was just trying to have bonding time with every party member. All the party members were bonding, showcasing how they're working together to get stronger, move on from the tragedy that they had happened to them, the loss of their previous, priest, and also seeing how they're all pitching in money and stuff to be able to afford armor for their warrior, or the person that's tanking all the damage. And that really makes me respect these cast of characters so much more, because now they're really starting to perform as a real party. They're not performing as if, we're just, trying to kill this thing, try to get some money, and so forth, let's move on to the next target. They're not really trying to do that. Right now, they're focusing on slowly taking small steps up the staircase and trying to build themselves up. They're not worrying about, these high-class rooms to stay in and sleep in. Because right now, if you look at the episode, they're sleeping in hay and shit. Like, they could sleep in a whole lot better with probably how much money they made recently. But instead, they're focusing on saving up money to give to their tank to buy better armor, along with buying themselves better armor and better skills. And which I think that is a very good move on their part. I mean, if I was in that situation, and you had limited money, and you needed money to survive, I would use the money to, at the very least, have basic needs, clothing and stuff, but I would also use money to food, but I would mainly pump my money into the party's, survivability. For instance, armor, weapons, skills. That's what I would do if I was in that situation. And seeing how they're doing that and they're taking their time, that's kind of how I would handle an MMORPG or RPG in general if I was in something like that. Because what they're doing is they're being labeled as goblin hunters. Many people in this episode were actually saying, Goblin Slayers! Goblin Slayers! And obviously that term, the way that many were saying that, which it was completely brushed over fast, but what we can get from that scene is many of the adventurers and stuff, they're looking at them like, oh, is that all you guys can do is kill goblins? Is that all you can do? Kill these little weak goblins? These shitty fucking monsters? That's pretty much what people were saying to them. They were making fun of them in a way. But in reality, our characters are very smart, because for now, they're doing training. They're training and getting stronger and stronger, saving up all this money. They're like doing a grind. They're grinding right now. That is the best way to summarize it. They're grinding right now for them, that money, that XP, that equipment, that's exactly what they're doing. I mean, if you're playing an RPG, MMO, or whatever, usually you will go to the same exact dungeon, regardless if you're like level 50, okay? Let's say you're level 50, and there's a dungeon for level 10. So you might go into that dungeon for level 10s to grind some fucking money or certain items to be able to sell on the auction house or something. And that's probably what they're doing. Right now, they're just grinding an area, even though it's kind of below them at the moment, or around their same level. Regardless, they're getting training, they're getting money, and they're still getting stuff to be able to progress and move forward with their party. And I feel like that's very smart. You should not move on until you can no longer get anything from this area. And for them to continuously get stuff from this area, it's very smart how they're staying there, and then eventually they can move on to better things once they get stronger, they have all this equipment. And taking their time with it is the best way to take any type of situation like this for an MMORPG, when you can slowly get stronger by constantly killing things like goblins and stuff. So that's definitely holding true to MMO logic. I actually really enjoyed that when it came to this episode. It brought up that inner MMO fan inside of me, seeing that type of scene. So yeah, I mean, episode of Grimgar, like I said, it was slow. It was a very slow episode, and I won't even begin to deny that, but it was still fun to watch. So, at the end of the day, that's all I care about. So, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. You all have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.